Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Mary Ann Faremouth on today's show.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Radio Show, a division of Authors Marketing International, an organization that supports and promotes authors all over the world. My name is Mary Ann Faremouth. I'm a multi-genre author, and today I have the distinct pleasure and honor to visit with a woman that is just a multi-dimensional professional. Cindi Flow is an educator, a PhD, that's worked with schools and colleges and even technology companies. But her book, that's a children's book, is so necessary and such a beautiful book to have in these days and times, because her book inspires kids to deal with life's challenges. And I think in these times, a book like this is just so great to have. I wish I had something like that, for my kids when they were going through some challenges. So without further ado, let me introduce Cindi. And Cindi, tell us a little bit about what made you write a book about a horse.
Well, horses are magical beings. And ever since I was a youngster, I'd always wanted a horse and had ridden horses and things. But my mom and dad said, well, we've got a big family and we really can't afford to buy a horse. And so it was one of those things that just kind of percolated. And so whenever I had the opportunity, I always rode a horse and things. And I was fortunate enough that when I moved to Maine, that my husband and I decided that I should fulfill that dream. So Sandy Boy is my 25-year-old Palomino quarter horse. And he and I make a marvelous pair. And I was 70 years old when I got him. And so I asked my doctors, I said, is this the smart thing for a lady like me? And they said, go for it. Ride that horse as long as you can. And so having a horse, the first thing about is just bonding, and they're so special. They're so emotional. And I mean, these horses, they read you, they read your behaviors, they know when you're up, they know when you're down, they know when to nuzzle you, they know when to look for a treat, they know, and it's just been a fabulous experience. And where my horse lives, of course, I live in Kennebunk, Maine, right on the coast. My horse lives right on the ocean, basically, is where his farm is. He lives there. I can't afford to live on the ocean, but the horse does. But it's a lovely place, and so there are a number of other horses there. So that is also a catalyst for relationships, relationship building, how horses do that. And then we have had a lot of children's camps, children's lessons, and watching children bond with horses, especially watching some kids who have some little issues maybe, but man, they bond with that horse, and they just love coming to the barn every day. So with all the turmoil and things that have been going on in the lives of children, it's always been kind of chaotic, but recently more chaotic. Then I thought that Sandy Boy, children will listen to a horse. They'll listen to a horse more than they'll listen to a person. So I thought he could be the central character, and we could begin a series of books with Sandy Boy sharing his experiences and asking children interactive questions so they could think about how that applies to their life and how it could solve some of the issues that they have.
Well, how great. When you say it's interactive, how is the book interactive? That sounds like a real...
Well, what I've done is I have Sandy asking questions. In this first book, Sandy Boy and his new home, he is having to leave his former residence, and it's a sad situation because his current owner there got ill and could no longer keep him. And so he's sad about leaving, and yet he's sort of anxious about where he's going. And so he asks children, he says, have you ever had to move somewhere where you've never been? Have you ever had to try to make new friends? And then there are places in the book where he gets to his new home and some of the horses run away. And he goes, they don't even know me. Why is it that they're running away from me? And so another horse tells him, just give them time. And that once they get to know you, they'll really like you. So it's going through those things, and so that parents, teachers can then build on those questions and really talk about those questions with children.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's so necessary today, especially with kids. Cindi, are they in school? Are they not? Do they wear a mask? Do they not? Can they talk to their friends? Can they not? So having a book like this, I think, is so helpful to them, because if they feel like they're talking to an animal and they're reading something and learning about an animal, they can kind of transfer that into real life. So I think that's a great thing. You have something in your book that, or on your website, that I thought was really neat. Something about, writing is a story, or
Yeah, reading's a ride.
Reading's a ride. Yeah, reading's a ride. So
bringing to life one adventure at a time.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Isn't that
Yeah.
the truth? Well, I saw the horse. He's beautiful, and
Yeah, he's a neat one.
He really is. And is he the kind of horse that children can go up and pet? I mean, they can go around him and be around him, and he's not spooked by that or anything?
No, he loves children, and he's one of the favorite horses over there. And children go, I want to go see Sandy Boy, and can I give him a carrot, and stuff. And he just nuzzles them, and he's the horse that he's the go-to horse that if the barn manager needs a horse that's very trustworthy for a beach ride or for a little child to get on, he's the first choice.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
The first choice.
Now, this book, though, was it something you had always thought? I mean, you talked about, your educational background, and you've always loved horses. So since you love these horses, did you just automatically think it would be something that kids would really like too? Or how did you do a little research about that?
It was one of those God wink things that, I'm going, here I am, it's COVID, I'm here in this house, and I'm not going very far. And I do have a brain, and I do have things that I would like, and I'm frustrated because I want to help what's going on. What can I do? And then because Sandy Boy was kind of go and talk to him, I go, what can we do? And so that just stimulated from how I got him and things and what happened and everything and all that process, and how that applies to a lot of children today who are very worried about where they're going and who their friends are and are they going to be like, and that kind of a thing.
I think it's wonderful. And I think it says so much about you that you wanted to do something to help. And I think during COVID, studies that I've read, there's been a lot more books written during COVID because I think we had more, time alone and all this and that. But have you had kids share their experiences with you or talk to you about the book after they read it?
Yes, I have. And it's just been awesome. I had a little girl actually in Austin, and she's going into 3rd grade this year. And so she said, I really love the book. And she said, I'm going to take the book to school and I'm going to share it with my teacher. And I want her to read it to the whole class because Sandy Boy can really help some students.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think the other great thing about this too is that it's teaching children to help others, to not just be self-absorbed. They had an experience that was fulfilling to them, and then they can turn around and help somebody else. So I think not only are you helping children with their struggles and their fears, but you're teaching them some important life lessons about, giving back and doing something for others. So,
and one of the questions is, have you ever thought about what it would be like not to have a home?
Mm-hmm.
So bringing those kinds of thoughts.
No, I do some work with some of the schools too, and some of these little kids, they're just so afraid, and the news is so full of negative things. And I think to have a safe place to go and nestle with a book and read a book and learn something that's comforting and healing and not so stressful. I think it's wonderful that you took the time to do that. So let's take a break right here and let our sponsors do their thing, and we'll be right back.
Marianne Fairmonth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmonth.com.
To embrace your children's imagination, check out Diane Floyd Bame's books for kids. There's the Moonling Adventures, all about the animals in the Serengeti. And then there's Harry the Camel, learning to love yourself just the way you are. Then the Little Girl in the Moon. There's one about friendship, another one about the big ideas, which is an inspirational story. And then tour Tycho Town, right there in Tycho Crater on the moon. All of Diane Floyd Bain's books are available at B4R Store.
Hello, I am the author Denise Bryson. My first book is The Things That Cross My Mind, Inspirational Poetry with Life Lessons. And then my audiobook is Love's Reality. And it is also inspirational poetry with a jazzy flair. And then my new book is The Sex, the Lies, and the Soul Ties. They're really short stories written from a poetic expression. And then I have my first children book series, the Blinky series, which the first book is called Meet the Coins, and it is both in English and Spanish. And then the new book From Coins to Bills. I am the author, Denise Bryson.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Mary Ann Faremouth on today's show.
Welcome back to the Indie Beacon Radio Show, division of Authors Marketing International. My name is Mary Ann Faremouth. I'm a multi-genre author. And today I have the wonderful experience to talk with an author that's written a beautiful children's book. And not only has she written this book, but she has some other books on the docket. And I believe another one was going to be coming out in October. Is that right, Cindi? Tell us about that book.
Yes, that's true. The name of this book is Sandy Boy and the Christmas Blizzard. And so it takes us through the snowflakes are starting to fall on Christmas Eve day, and how they build up into a horrific storm, and how he's brought in the barn as the other horses are. And he worries about, the snow, the wind, and he worries about all his little friends, Hoot the Owl, and, Chewy Woodchuck and Polly Possum. And does anybody care about them? Are they safe at home and things? And then his owner brings in some special food for supper that night. He goes, "What's so special about tonight?" And then he goes, "I don't understand why there's green boughs in the barn, not outside the barn. And there's a little Christmas tree." He says, "What is that?" So this horse has never experienced Christmas at all. And so as the storm goes through and everything, then it blows off. And then just before midnight, there's no more snow, and he looks out his window and he sees all his little friends out on the pasture hill on top of the snow looking out at the ocean. And what does he see? But the biggest, beautiful star you could ever imagine. Oh. And he pricks his ears forward, and he thinks he might even hear some singing in the sky. So he learns about Christmas. And I kind of postured it so that, what the last illustration, because I'm a wonderful illustrator, and is Sandy Boy in his stall looking out the barn door, and there's a little manger right there, a little food trough, and all his little buddies are outside looking in, and all you see is a glow over you don't see a child in there, because I wanted to really make sure this was as open-ended as possible for, whatever religion you are, whatever ethnicity you are, you could begin to be part of the story.
How wonderful. Reminds me of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, how I wonder where you are. It gives them hope. And I think the other cool thing about what you do, and I'm sure you understand this part too, is that you worked in technology. And I think nowadays, Cindi, these kids are so into their laptops and their video games, and how great that something that you've done can take them away from that a little bit, to have a little bit more of a personal touch with and relate to an animal. I think that's a healthy thing. I mean, I'm not saying, technology isn't a great thing too, and it's helped us in so many ways. I mean, during COVID, if we didn't have technology, we wouldn't have the sense of community that we've had. Mm-hmm. But being in technology, you were an educator in technology. Did you, this book with this writing, it even prompted you more because of the technology background, that you wanted to give somebody another experience, or not?
This is going to really age me, but I started off in technology with the old 16 millimeter films. Remember those? They'd set them up on the big reel, and you were so excited that you didn't have to pay attention to other things. So went from that to the 3/4 inch video, to the 1/2 inch video, to the CD-ROM, and then gradually then into the online. And so I have gone through all of those things, and I really felt we were losing some authenticity because of how the technology was going. There were some benefits, but it was not as personal an experience. And horses and animals are personal experiences.
Mhm. Oh, I think that's so important. I think that's so great. And I think you mentioned to me that you might have another project on the books too, besides this Christmas story. Do you have
Right.
something else?
I have another one, and this one is going to help children, I hope, understand the value of each and every individual, no matter the color or the ethnicity. And so Sandy Boy is going to be the vehicle for this, because he has a new friend who is a big, tall, black Frisian. You've probably seen those horses. They drive them a lot and everything. But they're huge. They're 7, 8 feet tall. And so this woman brings us we have them at the barn, and Sandy Boy is a average size Palomino quarter horse. And so we go out beach riding together, and it kind of struck me like these horses is heart to heart. They don't care what size, what color, what breed they are. They just like to be friends, and they appreciate each other. And so I then talked to the owner of this horse. His name is Ziam, and she had gone over to the Netherlands and purchased them there. That's where they're raised. And so he's really an immigrant. And so it took him several months to get used to being here once he got here. So things like food, things like shelter, things like even the soil here is different than the Netherlands. And so a lot of kids who are coming to our country are experiencing change. Mm-hmm. And the horse only knew Dutch. He didn't know English, so he had to relearn everything in English. So I'm using all of that to weave together, and then also tie in other horses. The Pasifino is from Spain. Okay, the Lipizzaner is from Germany. So to really pull together through the horse world, how heart to heart is what's most important.
Oh, I think that's wonderful, and I think that's a lesson for all of us to learn, and especially if we can embed that into children and they can grow up learning that, then I think they're only going to grow up into adulthood as much more loving and giving and caring. Well, let's take a break and no, we're not going to take a break. We're going to talk a little bit more. I saw an old thing. Okay, well, let's talk about what prompted you to write. I mean, is it because of that technology background like we talked about that made you want to have more real interaction with people to learn?
Well, I think the thing is, there are just so many children that respond to horses, and there's just a thing, an aura about a horse, and if a horse can carry a message, I really wanted that to come through. I got a text from a friend today who showed me a picture of her 5-year-old granddaughter who can't read yet, but she was sitting on the sofa with this book, and she was going through the pages and singing and making up the story and through song as she was going through the book. So there are just so many ways that are so fun as to how different children can take this book. And in addition, the font that I chose is a dyslexic font. So it makes it easier for children with dyslexia because all of the font, it's weighted at the bottom of it so that it doesn't turn it upside down or invert it. And it's a lot easier for dyslexic kids to read. And so teachers and special ed people are always looking for something to help children overcome their frustration with learning to read. And so this book makes it easier.
I didn't know there was a dyslexic font.
Yeah, there is. Pretty cool.
Now, do you have your first book in any of the libraries or the grade schools, or how can people know about it? It's on Amazon, I know that. But
it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and it's in the B4 store, and so of course on my website and things like that. And I'm starting to bring it out to libraries locally, and get the word out to school librarians because it's a perfect book for school.
Oh, it is. And since you were in academia for so long, I'm sure you still have contacts that you can network with and get it out there. Because I think a book like this in the schools right now, especially with so much change and fear and challenge, I think a book like this would really be a good book for librarians to offer to kids. And that's a great thing. So it's interesting that your background in academia led you to become a writer and to have this heart based book that is kind of what we all need these days. You know, I think COVID, tell me if you agree, is made us really look at things a little differently. And I think there's some good that's come out of COVID as far as realizing that, you know, we're all human beings. We all have talents and skills. And if we can help others activate those, I mean, wouldn't it be a much better world? Do you agree with that?
Right. And my last teaching experience was at the college level. So here I am writing a book for 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. It's just kind of like, wow, you know, but it really also shows you what different kinds of things you can do if you just put your mind to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's amazing that you had all those different teaching experiences at all those different levels. I mean, anyway, it's a great thing. I mean, you're really an amazing person that you've done so many things. So let's stop right here. Let our sponsors do their thing, and we'll come right back.
Publishing marketing package for authors. A $1,500 value, save 40% now. Includes a 6-piece marketing kit of 250 bookmarks, 250 business cards, 250 postcards, 1 table banner, 1 table runner, and 50 download cards, plus book cover design, ebook creation, PDF setups, upload to Ingram Spark, scroll placement, video commercial, and interview on IBS, plus much more. Email bourgeoismedia@look.com for details or bourgeoismedia.com.
Hi, I'm Mel Greenberg, author of Running with Our Eyes Closed, book 1 in the Empty Nested series. To the world, Samantha has the perfect life. 3 wonderful children, a loving husband, so she thought, and a life split between Dallas and Italy. When her youngest leaves for college, it all comes crashing down, forcing Samantha to re-examine everything. Over 7 days in one of the most romantic countries in the world, Samantha faces the past she thought she'd overcome and begins to redefine her role as a woman, a wife, and a mother.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? Well, during COVID, almost all of us have been doing just that. I'm Charlotte Canyon, award-winning author, actress, and speaker. And my book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, shows you how you can revive, thrive, and survive with 4 golden rules. You have to love one another. You have to respect one another. You have to have patience with one another. And most of all, you've got to forgive one another. I'm Charlotte Canyon, and I approve this message.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Mary Ann Faremouth on today's show.
Welcome back to the Indie Beacon radio show. My name is Mary Ann Faremouth. Indie Beacon is a division of Authors Marketing International, organization that supports writers all over the world. And we're back with Cindi talking about her book about Sandy Boy, an interactive children's book about a horse. And we were just talking, Sandy, we were just talking about the places you can find this. Can you find it on Amazon, Cindi, and Barnes and Noble? If somebody wants to get this book after they hear this episode, they can pretty much go to any of those venues to get it.
And the B4 store.
The B4 store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And is there anything else that we can talk about about this book that we talked about being able to help kids, understand about relating to each other and about animals and about heart and about caring about others. But you said the one thing I thought was interesting is horses are really emotional. And I know that they're very sensitive, but when you say emotional, I mean, they can pick up on other people's vibes. Is that what you mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Sandy Boy knows pretty much my mental health when I walk in the barn, and he'll whinny to me and go, well, welcome, or if he's out in the paddock. But he has a way, that he knows that if I'm thinking something heavy and things, and he'll just want to put his head on my shoulder and just leave it there and just say, whenever you're ready, and when I'm more joyful and everything, he knows, oh, okay, now I can go for a treat. But the horses, they are very, very sensitive, and they're sensitive to each other as well as to how people react to them. And the horses, they know when people are fearful, and he just kind of relaxes and just puts his head down over his stall and just says, please come pet me. and things. So,
Oh,
yeah. So they
so,
really
so,
are. That's why horses are so good in therapy programs,
uh-huh.
because for all kinds, for adults, for a lot of things, people coming back from war and stuff, they have great therapy programs. Kids who have different types of special needs, put them on a horse and it just changes them.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Well, I hope you keep writing, and I hope that we can all spread the word about these wonderful books, because I think right now, with all that everybody's going through, especially our children, I think having a book like that provides some healing and kindness and emotional support for these kids, it's just a wonderful vehicle and a great experience.
And we have
And
a lot of kids who their homes are being broken and they're sad because they're having to leave one parent or place and move to another. So this can be, extrapolated to other kinds of situations.
It's almost like having a child therapist right there with you without having to go into the office, huh?
Right. And when people can email me, and I'm sure some of them would say, can we come ride your horse? Absolutely.
Well, tell people about your website, because I went to your website and it's just an amazing website, and there's so much inspiration on the website. So give our listeners the website address too.
Okay, it's Flow, FLOW, Writes, WRITES.com. FlowWrites.com.
And there's pictures of Sandy Boy on there too.
Yeah, real pictures of Sandy Boy, so you can really get to see him and all of his elements, including being covered in mud, because he loves to roll in the mud, to riding on the beach, to all kinds of things.
Now that big barn that's on there, is that where he's boarded? That big barn that's on the website?
Yes. That's where he's boarded.
And it's close to the ocean too, huh?
Yeah, it's right there. Every day when he goes out, goes up on the hill and he looks out at the ocean.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
well,
he's got quite the life.
He does. Maybe that can be something else that we can translate, is that if you are, emotional and caring, maybe things, help you to have a better life. Maybe we could say something about that. What do you think of that, Cindy?
That would be good. If you see a horse, go and say hello.
Well, you've got me wanting to go buy a horse. I've always had an admiration for horses. And in fact, I told one of my sons the other day, I said, I really want a horse. He said, oh, Mom, you're going to have to board him and this and that. But I don't think it's that much of a problem, is it, to have a horse?
No, particularly if you've got a good place where they can be boarded and with a very good barn manager, it just really works out really well. My horse is not even 10 minutes from me, so he's close by and he's well taken care of. And then I'm there almost every day myself, so it makes it really nice.
All right.
But I don't have him here. I don't think where I live now would appreciate me trying to have a horse in my condo backyard.
Okay. Well, anyway, we are thrilled to have you on the Indie Beacon Radio Show. This is Cindi Flow. She's written a beautiful book called Sammy Boy. Is that right?
That's right.
All right.
And Sandy Boy in his new home.
Sandy Boy in his new home. You can find it at Amazon. You can find it at Barnes & Noble, and you can go to her website, flowrights.com. Again, this is the Indie Beacon Radio Show. I'm Marianne Fairmonth, and we're delighted to have you with us. Please keep in touch and check the website, Indie Beacon and Authors Marketing International, for all the wonderful programs we have coming up. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show, produced by Biala Bourgeois for the Authors Marketing International LLC. Copyright 2021. Voiceover by Biala Bourgeois. If you would like to be a sponsor of the show, please email us at authorsmarketing@outlook.com. If you would like to be on the show, please complete the form found on our website at indiebeacon.com. You may also watch previous year's shows on the website. Music is Frolic of Words, created for Indie Beacon